gonna need you guys to follow me down this rabbit hole for just a second. Yes, this is all alleged. Yes, this is gonna be my own opinions. And yes, this video makes me sick to my stomach to make because I believe women, I believe survivors. What I have uncovered is going to destroy everything you know about this case. Now, I've been saying for a while how the whole Trump-Virginia babysitting interaction just was weird and didn't make sense to me. Because we know from the documentation provided by Mar-a-Lago that Virginia's father, Sky Roberts, was hired at Mar-a-Lago on April 11th, 2000. It is confirmed in court transcripts that Sky Roberts was originally hired on that date. While keeping in mind that the woman here testifying to the validity of that document was not the human resource person that actually signed it. None of these people were brought in to authenticate this document, by the way. So right there is enough to call into question the validity of this document, but that's a whole other can of worms I'll get to. Now, this is a transcript of the phone call from the very first time Virginia, Jack Scarola, and Bradley Edwards talked to each other. Jack Scarola asks, "But what were you doing at Mar-a-Lago before you quit Mar-a-Lago?" Virginia says, "I was just a locker room attendant and sometimes I did babysitting for the rich and famous. So I wasn't anything big. I worked in the spa areas. That's why I was studying anatomy, because I was really interested in becoming a massage therapist." Now, we know that Virginia was hired at Mar-a-Lago sometime around June. So that means her father had been working there for 4 months. For some reason, he wants to put his reputation at this great new job that he has to get his daughter, who he views as a screw-up, a position working in the spa. Now, what if I were to tell you that Mar-a-Lago closes in the fucking summer? That's right, I even looked it up in the year 2000, and it closes after Mother's Day and reopens around Halloween. And documentation in Maxwell's case literally confirms this. Isn't it weird that no mainstream media has ever fucking mentioned this? But let's continue. It couldn't have been more than a few days before my dad said he wanted to introduce me to Mr. Trump himself. They weren't friends exactly, but Dad worked hard and Trump liked that. He'd only been there 3-4 months tops at that point, and yet she saw photos of them posing together shaking hands. Remember, this is before cell phones, so that had to have been an actual camera. When did he meet Trump? When did they get their random picture together? When did they get to the end of the camera roll and get it developed? A lot of questions here. "This is my daughter," Dad said, and his voice sounded so proud. Keep in mind that this is the man who literally turned her bedroom into an office while she was kidnapped by Ron Eppinger. They were making her sleep in a trailer behind the house at this point. Trump couldn't have been friendlier, telling me it was fantastic that I was there. "Do you like kids? Do you babysit at all?" He explained that he owned several houses next to the resort that he lent to friends, many of who had children that needed tending. I said yes. Are y'all getting what I'm putting down here? I can't flat out say what I'm thinking here. She even admits that she's a terrible babysitter, that the last time she did it, she lit a bunch of fireworks for these kids. And then she says, "Clearly I was right to leave that out because soon I was making extra money a few nights a week minding the children of the elite." And that is all we hear about. She's babysitting for the rich and famous, yet goes into zero detail about that in her "In Case I Die" publish this memoir. And again, she only worked at Mar-a-Lago for 3 weeks. It was 2 weeks into her job that she was recruited. And then her dad put up no resistance as he dropped her off at Epstein's, even though he'd stuck his neck out to get her this job. Nope, it's not computing. And y'all, sometimes it's a good thing that I never delete anything off my phone, because sometimes that's how I get my biggest breakthroughs. Now, Virginia mentions over and over again about Forrest, the friend that Dad gave her to, starting when she was like 8 years old. What if I told you about during the 2016 Virginia Roberts lawsuit against Ghislaine Maxwell, I found this, a potential witness list for trial that lists a Forrest Sawyer as a witness, stating that Mr. Sawyer may have knowledge concerning plaintiff's false claims against the defendant. Now, I know this Forrest is spelled differently than in her book. Well, as it turns out, the name Forrest Sawyer shows up on the flight logs. And in fact, in 2009, in a deposition with EpiPed's pilot, Larry Vizosky, he is directly asked about Forrest Sawyer, which of course the pilot's like, never heard of the name actually. Now, it's possible that this is referring to Forrest Sawyer, the journalist, and given his connection to the news outlets and everything, along with the fact that he was born and raised in Florida and went to the University of Florida, all of the different stuff like all intertwined. Now, here's the gotcha moment, because the only time Forrest Sawyer shows up on these flight logs is February 24th, 2004, which is almost 2 years after Virginia escaped from Jeffrey. So what knowledge concerning the plaintiff's false claims against Maxwell would he have? Unless this Forrest Doris Sawyer is the one that she is accusing of being her abuser. And in that same initial phone call that Virginia had with Jack Scarola and Bradley Edwards, she said that Jeffrey knew Ron, which was quite weird when I told Jeffrey the story about Ron and Jeffrey had actually met him. And yeah, and let's not forget that I did a whole video about creepy Kevin Reynolds, who was Jeffrey Epstein's male masseur on the island, who admits to teaching the victims how to massage people, not only had a sketchy massage business, but had an even more terrifying babysitting business in which the only pictures on this flyer were of his own children. It's almost just like how the word massage in Jeffrey's world didn't mean massage, that babysitting in this world didn't mean babysitting, because the rich and powerful don't have babysitters. They have nannies, they have au pairs, they have trusted people who have been vetted. And yet Donald Trump introduced her to his rich elite friends and she did babysitting as a side gig. And all this flight log shows me is that poor girl was groomed from birth, like Sasha Riley, to be sold for various purposes into the world of the elite. And just to close the loop on this, some of y'all might not know that Donald Trump tried to run for president in 2000. You see, in 1998, Donald Trump started toying with the idea of running for president, and so he asked Roger Stone to find the most eminent hack writer in America to put his political ideas into a book. Y'all remember Roger Stone, you know, who was arrested in 2019 in connection with the Robert Mueller investigation, charged with witness tampering, obstruction, and sentenced to 40 months in prison, and 10 days before he was supposed to report to jail, Donald Trump commuted the sentence and eventually pardoned him. Well, what if I were to tell you that Roger Stone was business partners with Scott Rothstein? In 2006, Stone and Rothstein formed a business named RRA Consulting. Stone had an office in the 16th floor of the law firm, and Stone was the political consultant for the firm, getting paid upwards of $400,000. In fact, he was sued by the law firm after the bankruptcy, after the Ponzi scheme collapsed, saying that he provided no benefit to the firm. Yeah, I know.